All right, welcome back to the SU Gang podcast, and we also want to wish you a happy new year. This video is being recorded on New Year's Day, 2024. So anyway, as we move on to our next segment, we are going to talk about power rankings going into Week 18 of the NFL season, the season finale.
It's coming up.
All righty, so okay, there we go. Alrighty, so right off the bat, I feel like it's kind of the same three teams: Ravens, Browns, Niners. I put the Browns at 2. To be honest, I didn't really have a great reason for it. I just thought that because the Commanders, if you watch the Niners game, the Commanders actually put up a pretty good fight, and their D line actually got home a few times when it came to tackling McCaffrey short, along with just in general stopping them a few times when early in the game, and then the Niners got their stuff together in the second half. I just put the Browns above them because, first of all, I think the Jets defense actually they had some good points. If you had them in fantasy, for example, the Jets defense still would have gotten you some good points. And I feel like just because of the I feel like the Jets were a harder defense against the Browns. So, and the Browns still had the same margin of victory of 17 points as the 49ers. So for that reason, those two reasons, I just put the Niners at 3, but I really don't. I will agree with you if you put them at 2, to be honest. Lions and Cowboys. That one we'll get into in a second, but I put the Lions above the Cowboys because I think they got cheated
They
out of
definitely got
that
it.
call. Yeah, like we'll talk about it in a bit, but like Taylor Decker went up to the ref. Also, the coaches go to refs before games to talk about trick plays, and they apparently informed the refs that they were thinking about running this play at a critical point, and I mean, again, human error, but like they just straight up forgot or just thought 70 was the eligible receiver. Like it was just crazy. I thought it was a really good play design. The Lions, I don't think really messed up in any way. And well, I think the Lions and Cowboys were both very sloppy at times. I think that the Lions should have won that game. So that's my point of view on them. And frankly, I feel like a lot of teams had some offensive duds. I only feel really good about my top 3 and bottom few teams. The middle, like a lot of the offenses struggled. Like 4 through 7, those teams arguably did not have great offensive days, at least on my list. So I feel like it was just these 4 are a little iffy for me.
Yeah, I put the Cowboys above the Lions just because I feel I feel like the Cowboys have a better chance to go farther ahead. Now, in regards to coaching, I do feel like the Lions have better coaching. Obviously, I feel like Mike McCarthy's clock management is really bad, and that almost costed the Cowboys. Actually, that gave the Lions the ball back towards the end of that game. But I just feel like the Lions have a great roster, great offense. I just feel like the Cowboys roster is good enough to go a tad bit farther than the Detroit Lions, but they're basically the same in my opinion. I just think they're a little bit better, although
I think
they may have got cheated.
I think it matters who the Cowboys get matched up with in the first round. If they go up against the Bucks, I think it would be close, but I don't think the Bucks would be able to win. But if they were to play, I don't know, the Rams, or can they play the Rams? They can't
I
move down.
feel like I feel like the Cowboys will either get the 5th seed or the 2nd seed. So hypothetically, they would face the Packers or whoever gets the 7th seed in round 1.
I think they would beat the Packers. I think
Yeah,
honestly, but then they would play Philadelphia. All things, assuming all things, the Eagles and Cowboys both win, and then the winner of the NFC South is probably going to lose. I feel like
yeah. As much as
so
we,
it would put Philadelphia. Well, it depends if the Lions would win in the first, right?
yeah, I agree with
It
Mal's
would
point on the
put
Lions not going as far because like at least right now, if the Lions get the 3 seed, I think the Rams-Lions matchup is very likely. And that matchup as a whole is 50-50. There is a very high chance the Lions could get bounced in round 1. I think they'll get bounced by the divisional at the latest with the Cowboys, but the Cowboys, I think, can definitely win as a 2nd seed in round 1 or as a 5th seed against Tampa Bay. So, yeah, I just, again, ranked it based on relevance, and I feel like another point that's pretty similar, the Lions with their coaching decisions, with Dan Campbell making those decisions to go for 2 a lot, I feel like that, like his reckless play calling, while it is sometimes pays off, because analytics favor riskier stuff like 4th downs and stuff more than people think. Like in the playoffs, I don't think you should determine your season on the line from that
Yeah.
at all.
100%.
Like, so that arguably cost them, and they were given chances too. So I view the Lions still as like, yes, the game, you guys should have won that game, but you guys also screwed yourselves over at times. Like
Yeah.
instead of just going into OT, I know you hate it, but in the playoffs, like you better take the PAT.
Yeah, honestly, they would have never really been in that situation in the first place. I feel like if it wasn't for some of their, ballsy decision. Now, now having big balls like shows. Sorry, okay, pause. That sounded wrong. But
Pause.
like, but like being very gutsy, actually is a good thing for your locker room, your players. It just shows like the confidence you have in them to like pull something off. But I don't know. It's not always gonna pay off. It is good in regards to like boosting a player's confidence, but as you said, in the playoffs, that might not be able to pay off.
And he probably won't be as risky for that, because at the end of the day, regular season games don't mean as much because I think we kind of talked about this a little earlier when we were talking about the Eagles. The records and regular season makes you a little less aware of your mistakes. So, in that case, like it's definitely better to you can not better, but it's more likely you can be risky and get away with it. But I feel like that game still is important in terms of seeding. Like the Lions could have had the 2 seed if they hypothetically went into OT with a chance to win the game. And in the playoffs, we have seen records no matter like here's the thing, right? I feel like more than ever this year, it seems more obvious that the Ravens and Niners seem to be the favorites. But every time I've fully bought into a team thinking they'll go all the way, not just my own, like genuine predictions, like the Packers, for example, we've seen in the past. I thought they'd go far a lot, but they choked. Like it just shows records don't entirely matter. I think the only one that seems to be for sure kind of a lock, at least so far, is the 2nd versus 7th seed matchup because we have never seen a 7th seed win a lot. In fact, I think all of them except the Colts in the Bills Colts matchup have not even been competitive, arguably. Like it seems that's the only game I've seen the 7 seed put up a fight against a 2 seed.
Buffalo, that game was competitive.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. I was saying the Colts are like the only 7 seed
we've seen. The 7th seed game in 2020, the Bills and the Colts.
Yeah, that was pretty good. But the Colts were 11-5 and the 7th seed. That's how good the AFC
that's
was.
True. That's true. But the AFC is better.
Which is
the AFC is better. But you also have like stuff like the Steelers, like they've gone far and then got their ass kicked. Like, or not far, just far enough to get in the playoffs. And like that's another thing about the Steelers. As cool as the cool 9-8 season is, if you keep losing at the end of the day quickly, your franchise isn't really benefiting from that. Like you're just stuck in the same place. Like honestly, it's better to be bad and then get a lot better. And this is how I feel as a Seahawks fan because I felt that too. We're in a way kind of like the Steelers of the NFC. We're stuck in the same place a lot, barely 7th seed-ish thing, like especially in the last few years. So like at the end of the day, there are teams like that who have also gotten their ass kicked. Like I mean, we've seen the Chiefs kick their ass in 2021.
I think it would be a bad look in a way for the sport. I don't want to discredit the Steelers because they've got some good players on their team. I think it would be bad for the sport in the way if you want to introduce someone to the game of football in the playoffs, especially, and you have the Steelers playing against a 2 seed, they're gonna get destroyed, and it's gonna be like I feel like it's just gonna lower playoff ratings. I would much rather have a team like the Texans make the playoffs, who are young and who can move the football and who nobody expected to make the playoffs, instead of the Steelers who are in this middle limbo area of we're not good enough to compete, but we're not terrible enough, like you said, Austin, to pick in the top 5. So it's like,
Yeah, exactly. But like at the same time, like obviously a lot of people would like the Texans better for sure. But there's also the factor of why the 7th seed exists, and it's for one, more money, because even if it's kind of bad, people are gonna watch the game regardless. And two, you're right. The Texans will be a great team to have as a story, but the Steelers are also like an iconic franchise. So to the more casual viewer that doesn't watch week to week like us, like it will be a recognizable franchise. But like the Texans, you said the Texans. Obviously, I'd rather like the Texans, but like, do you mean as a 7th seed too? Because you're kind of saying this argument of the 7th seed getting
as
destroyed by the 2 seed, but like, would you
I
rather?
feel like I feel like the Texans, if the 2 seed is Miami or if it's the Bills, I think it would be a competitive game.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like it would just be better to see like a different, cooler team. And like if they get their butt kicked, hey, it's your first year. You guys have a bright future. Like, you know,
Yeah.
you're
So
right. It's different in a way. I just wanted to clarify that.
That's
Yeah.
true. The Bears ruined it, by the way. The Bears were the first NFC 7th seed. They were the first team to play on Nickelodeon, and they were the first team to embarrass themselves. And Mitch Trubisky is the first human being to ever win the MVP, not the MVP, the MVP. So yeah,
Daniel Jones won it after the wild card last year.
yeah.
Oh yeah, that's true. Hey, I mean, listen, man, I've seen Seattle embarrass themselves last year after one half of competitive football. We got embarrassed on Thanksgiving, so that was I've been there.
It happened in 2021 with the Eagles Bucks game. I think the Bucks were at one point up 31-0.
Yeah,
Got
it
two
was
garbage.
not that was not good.
Good day for me.
Oh yeah, obviously. Okay, but anyway, transitioning into clinching scenarios, what the Giants have been eliminated, unfortunately, but I guess we could go over clinching scenarios for our team, or Bobby, if you have any others that are like interesting for other teams, you can go ahead and share, but that was something you wanted to talk about when planning.
I think honestly, I think the NFC East. I mean, I don't really see the Cowboys losing to Washington. I think the NFC, that last wild card spot, is definitely interesting because, in all honesty, I don't see the Seahawks losing to the Cardinals. But
Yeah.
You're greatly mistaken, my man. You haven't seen.
You know, I kind of talking about that this past week. I kind of wish the Giants could have beat the Rams. Now the Bears
I wish
were
that
never going to
too.
make the playoffs.
Shit, I
Bears
wish
were
that
never
too.
going. Bears were never going to make the playoffs, but I did not. I wanted to actually have something to like hold on to in week 18. Like, there's no chance. There was no chance in my mind even coming into this week 17 that we were going to make the playoffs at all. But I just wanted to not be eliminated, and I wanted to have something to play for and someone to root against. But it looks like Austin's going to have to become a Bears fan for next
Hey,
week.
I'm glad for that. Like, I've actually started to really like the Bears this year. Like, I thought their team was gonna be pretty good. But anyway, actually another interesting team. So the Bears are not eliminated yet, right? They're like on the cusp of.
No, we got eliminated because we needed the
Oh, the
Packers
tie,
and Vikings
right?
to tie in order
Okay.
to have that chance.
Yeah. Speaking of the Vikings, they're technically not out of it yet, but they're like pretty close. I'm trying to read the unlikely. They obviously need to beat Detroit, which could be possible because
They need us to beat the Packers too.
yeah, so they need
Detroit's
that to
probably going to play their
happen.
starters.
They also need Seattle to probably so Vikings need to beat the Lions, the Bears need to beat the Packers, and then the Cardinals have to beat the Seahawks. And then the Falcons have to beat the Saints
And the
or the Panthers to beat the Buccaneers, which makes sense because the Saints are currently the 9th team in the hunt. The Seahawks are the 8th. So that's a lot of dominoes for them to fall, or to fall in place. Buffalo is pretty interesting too, and this really just shows how competitive the AFC is. So we won last week, but because Steelers won and Jags won, that's not, we needed both those guys we need one of those guys, I think, to lose to get in, but or clinch, sorry. But so basically, the Miami game is very important because it will come down to the division, because Bills will have the tiebreaker if they win, because they would have swept the Miami Dolphins and they would have jumped all the way up to the 2 seed. The Dolphins already have clinched a playoff spot, so they will technically make it in as a wild card, just not with home field advantage. But Buffalo needs the Steelers playing the Ravens, who the Ravens don't have to play for anything, and the Jags are playing the 5-win Titans. So basically, Buffalo needs to win or they're not in the playoffs, because if the Steelers and Jags, they need the Steelers and Jags to lose both, and if they don't, then they lose against Miami, then Buffalo will not be able to even make the playoffs in total. So there is a lot on the line for Buffalo, and it's pretty crazy how they basically need to win, or they pretty much will just miss it entirely with a 10-7 record.
And the AFC is competitive. Holy crap.
Yeah, exactly. We need the Steelers and Jags to both lose. Oh no, sorry. It would be 10-7 and miss the playoffs. That is wild.
And the winner, so the Colts and the Texans play on Saturday.
That's true, yeah.
The loser, I think, will be eliminated, and then it's just
and then Jags are playing for the South.
My ideal playoff picture is just I don't really. So right now the Steelers have a 29% chance to make it. Houston's at 46. Is there a way? No. So the loser of that game will be eliminated, and then
the loser of the Colts Texans.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Playoff picture would be Houston, either the Bills or Jaguars. The Bills at either 6 or 2, or the Dolphins at 2 or 6.
I honestly think the Bills are if they win, they're probably gonna jump up to the 2 seed, because exactly, because I don't see us losing and the Jags and Steelers both losing I just don't see that being a thing that happens. So yeah, it's gonna be crazy. But Josh Allen does have a good record versus the Dolphins, so I really hope we can get our shit together and win that game. Bradley Chubb's going to be out, so that should be pretty huge, but I'm scared for the offense, man.
Yeah.
The defense hopefully is good. Rasul Douglas has been a great acquisition.
I just hope the Texans make it, the Bills make it.
I hope the Texans make it.
The Jags win the South, and then everything else just stays the same. I don't really.
Yes, sir. Yeah, the Jags though, man, if Stroud was healthy, they would have won that division. The Jags kind of free fell a little bit, and in the Panthers game, I didn't know this until today. Bryce Young got injured, which pretty much hurt their chances of winning. That's why I picked the Panthers actually last week in the upset, because I was like CJ Beathard versus Bryce Young. And I thought they would channel the same energy, but I realized that Joe Barry is just a special human in terms of his inability to be a DC until the Vikings game.
Yeah. I mean, Joe sucks, but yeah, he put together great game.
AFC is competitive, which is why the AFC is better, especially when you're watching playoff games. You'd rather watch AFC
sure.
games. But during before the playoffs, it's much more interesting to watch the NFC playoff picture.
That is very true.
Because it's so bad that
it's bad, but who can be the king of the dumpster fire? That's how Tom refers to the NFC South. But it's a lot of the wild card is actually in a way pretty competitive too, because if you
It's
think
super
about it, the
competitive.
fifth seed is always locked up. I think for years to come it'll be between the not the Dolphins, Eagles and Cowboys. Whoever doesn't win, that's the fifth seed. And then the sixth seed's now the Rams. I thought it was the Giants at the beginning of the season. And then the seventh seed, they could get their ass kicked in round one, but it's, hey, who could it be? So like
It's always so interesting.
it's almost like you only have one or two wild card spots, and then the rest of it's like predetermined.
Locked down. It's already locked down.
Yeah, it literally is. Yeah, I mean, we could see with the Vikings loss, like the Lions flip flop with the Cowboys for the 2 seed. But yeah, like the main teams are that. I don't think the Bucks clinch their division yet, though, but I think they could, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, as a Bears fan, I was just thankful to see my team in the hunt picture for like a
For a
few
little
weeks.
bit.
I was
Yeah.
very thankful for that. It's always fun when you see when your team's not that good, but you still see them. You see division,
Yes,
wild card, and
sir.
you see in the hunt, and you see your team, and you're just like, let's
Yeah.
go. But
I love how we have different reactions, and it really just shows perspective, because like Seattle was expected to be a 6th or 7th like seed, like locked up, and the fact that we have just been this disappointing, like I'm scared for the Cardinals game, man. Like they could play us hard. And just the fact that we lost to the Steelers, like it's just tough out here. We were supposed to be the
I
yeah.
thought I like.
Everyone was like, "Oh yeah, Giants are 6." Everyone was like, "Oh, it's going to be Cowboys, Seahawks, and Giants easily for the wild card."
I thought
Like people didn't think there'd be a competition.
I thought going into the year we were going to be 8 and 9. I didn't want to get my expectations too high. Because 2022 I had us at 5 and 12. So I was like, 8 and 9. But my God, this year has been worse than I ever could have expected. So hopefully next year. Yeah,
They've
that's
gotten
really
better though.
It was fun with DeVito, especially
Yeah,
going to
that was cool.
And
it's kind of like the Bears. Like they started off terrible, but they've gotten better.
We were what? We should have. You can argue we should be 7 and 9. Honestly, we should be 9 and not even 9. Well, yeah, 9 and 7 right now. We should have beat the Bills. We should have beat the Jets. If Graham Gano doesn't miss it, or we just run it on 4th and 1, and if Tyrod isn't stupid when managing the clock, and if the refs help us out for once, and Mason Crosby isn't from Shanghai, like that kick was so bad yesterday. And I
need to watch that. No, but I felt that way too versus the Rams, bro. Like we should be like 9 and 7 right now. That kick was absolute pain. I mean, I'll admit part of us didn't deserve it because we were kind of dysfunctional that game offensively after like a couple drives, but like the fact that missed kick was a big turning point in terms of the negative for our season. And then the Eagles game was a potential up, but the wins were iffy. Titans win, lost to the Steelers. Like it's just an up and down roller coaster. The Steelers, Eagles, and just Rams game were just all pivotal moments for Seattle's fate.
Yeah. So I want to talk about the NFC real quick. So the 7 seed's up for grabs. The NFC South still up for grabs, and that's what makes it so interesting. Is that so? If you're a team like the Saints, you're probably focusing on the NFC South because you probably want a home playoff.
No, yeah, obviously.
New Orleans is a tough environment to play in, so maybe they might have the advantage to maybe win one. But if that's not an option for you, well, it is an option. But if that can't really happen, if the Bucks win, then they still have the opportunity to still get the 7 seed, which is what makes it so interesting. Like it's like the last spot of the playoffs, the 7 seed, is about as bad as the NFC South is. So it makes everything so interesting.
Yeah.
For the Falcons, what was that?
No, the NFC South of this year. Like I was just looking at the clinching scenarios. It reminds me of 2020 with the Giants, Cowboys, and Commies, where Washington, I think they're like the Bucks, they could win and get in. The Cowboys needed to win and Washington lose. And it was the same with the Giants. I mean, it's mediocrity. And Tom Brady said the
Too
NFL is
much
filled with
mid.
line. Yeah, it's like
They had a losing record for crying out loud, and they
they've
still
all
put
had,
up a fight against Tampa though, so we could see something like that. Like the losing team puts up a fight, but like, man, last couple of years with the or not last couple, last year with the NFC South, bro, the Bucks got their ass kicked.
I mean, besides the NFC South last year, the NFC was good.
That is true, yeah.
I
Overachieving
mean,
Seahawks, Giants definitely did really well beating the Vikings. You know, like there was definitely a lot of good stuff.
The
but like
AFC was definitely
it's always like this though. But like week 12 or like week 11, if your team has like 4 wins, if you're like 4-6, you like have an amazing chance to make the 7th seed. So I don't know, man. The NFC's sucked for a few years.
it
Like
hasn't been that
even
good.
like in week 10, like
No, it
if you're three and
has.
six, you're like, oh, if I win one more game, we get our 4th win. We have a good shot. And it's like,
Dude, the
crap.
pivotal moment started with like this off season where the Russ trade happened. Like a lot of talent just went to the AFC and it got stronger. And some of it to a degree was underwhelming, especially the AFC West. But now we see that like competitive playoff like atmosphere and like clinching that people thought was gonna happen. Like it just happened a little bit, later. So yeah, that I feel like that trade, that off season was just a lot of moves over to the AFC conference and it kind of created what we see today.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to talk
Okay.
about the Falcons real quick, just right before we finish this. They have a
Yeah.
chance too. They have a 10% chance. However, they're not going to make the 7th seed. Their only hope is the NFC South, and that is for them to beat the Saints and for the Panthers to upset the Buccaneers. So yeah,
Basically,
Bears ended their season essentially. I got to witness it.